is Valerie. I've always known you as Valerie Mitchell. What is your last name now?
It's another M.
Morris.
Morris.
That's right.
Like Morse code.
So Valerie has been around since the beginning of time too, in Omega, and she works side by side with George and so many other wonderful people in the classroom. And I would like for her to please say something as well. She came from Florida as well. They came from opposite ends of the country. So this is Valerie.
Unprepared for speaking to a group tonight. Just a little vignette, if you can imagine. George in church when he was a minister.
Can't hear you.
Oh. I'll just walk out. Raise your hand if you can't hear in the back, and I'll try to speak louder. George was a Baptist minister in his early days, and of course he would be required to do funerals. And I didn't know until he shared with me that he never looked at the open casket. He had never seen a dead body. That his view, he would make contact with the people in the congregation and never looked at a body. Until we had a leadership training that went for 30 or 60 days, and one of the requests for all of us in training was to go and view a dead body. You can imagine the stories we came up with when 15 or so of us trainees presented ourselves to some family at their service. And I don't know that it was such an integral thing to do, but I remember being asked, how did you know this person? And I felt like a soulmate. And that's about all that I said, and I promptly made my exit. The idea of death went way back to his childhood, when in the Appalachian Hills, it was very traumatic and traumatic. They had wakes, and the body was in the home for viewing. And he told of one time when they were getting ready for the burial, and the wooden casket was in the back of an old pickup truck without a tailgate. You know what's coming. And he was little, and his mother held his hand. I mean, it was scary. The women were, right, Emma? The women were moaning and crying, and little George's eyes were huge. And it was raining, and they were going uphill, and the road was muddy. And lo and behold, it got to a certain elevation, and out came the casket. He recalls being so distressed that his mother took him away from the circle of people and back into the trees and calmed him down. So to see and hear that progression, to know how beautifully he passed, and how concerned he was to have all of us be that free, surrendering and looking forward to, and then for us to be celebrating. I'm told in science, and if there's any scientists in the room, you can correct me. I'm told that when energy is created, it doesn't end. Okay? It may diminish and it may change, but it doesn't end. And we know that the wind currents have energy, and that they take atoms. You can tell I am not a scientist. And our atoms follow around the currents. As we breathe in and re-breathe out, right now, we are sharing this atmosphere with each other, so that when you leave tonight, you will contain the hearts of everyone here. For those of us who were in trainings with George, we inhaled him. And we carry those atoms in our system. They say that perhaps we all have atoms that goes around the planet of Jesus and of Hitler. Non-discriminating. And so when people talk about he's part of us, he truly is part of us, as we will be part of each other when we leave here tonight. I had the honor of meeting George in 1977, 78, and he asked, I never did the red-black game. He invited me to sit in the back of the room and take notes, and give him feedback, and he paid me. This is before I knew that Evelyn and George were underwriting this program, and he didn't have a lot of money. And of course, I was ecstatic. I was in counseling. I was in one of Sandy's programs, and what I saw was you could do something in a group that you could not do one-on-one in my private practice. There was a dynamic and a magic that occurred because of the support and the spirit and the commitment of one another during those 4 days. I gave him my feedback, and the next month he allowed me to co-facilitate. Of course, I was only 11 then, so I'm not. So I never played the red-black game. I didn't have a clue what was going on until the next month when I fully understood what was happening. One other funny thing. You know how after the first break, if you don't get to your chair in time, he would invite you to stand. And he would ask you a few questions. Is this a pattern in your life? Well, I hadn't been around very long, and I was not very confronted in my life, certainly not very assertive at that time. And he had this woman stand up, and he was really giving her a bad time. And I watched that. When he finished, I stepped in to say something like, well, don't worry too much, darling. I felt completely destroyed. What I didn't know is she was a plant. After that training, we never had another plant. We had plenty of people to process. I honor Evelyn. For those of you who don't know, Evelyn and George were married for years. She served him. I remember you bringing his tea and his pills at 10 o'clock in the morning in the office. And she looked after his health and well-being. Just fell out of my head. I don't know where I was going to. But I want to say to the people that have continued Omega, how much those of us who are gone appreciate the work and the commitment, the time and energy that you give. And I especially honor